All right, well, good evening, and District 5, thank you for joining me today instead of watching the Republican National Convention. So I think this will be probably more valuable information. This is the fifth of the 8 community meetings. I'm going to do a short presentation, and then after that we bring up one of the department heads to talk about what they are doing, and today you're going to have the pleasure of hearing Nicole Sherrod-Freeman talking about all the job opportunities available in Detroit and how Detroiters can be sure to get them. So let's start where we always start, which is the COVID numbers. And as you can see, the death rate has remained very, very low in the city. We've had enormous success, but we're starting to see a trend up that we have got to be conscious of. And so in June, this is the way the country looked. It's a heat map, so the redder it is, the more infections there are, and then kind of orange and then down to blue. But you could see that while the Midwest and the Northeast shut down, and Michigan, of course, was a leader in this, down in the South, they decided COVID wasn't real, and they didn't close their businesses, they didn't wear masks, and the infection has spread north, spread up through the Midwest into Ohio and now into Michigan. And it is trending up in Michigan, even though Detroit is doing well. And this month, Ohio passed Michigan in total number of cases, which Governor DeWine in Ohio was probably the national leader in having acted earliest and strongest on this. But with the infections rolling up from the south, they are heading our way. We're up, not as much as some others, but back when things were awful in April, I know you remember those days, we had 800 people hospitalized. 259 Detroiters were on ventilators in hospitals, and you had 126 new cases a day. By the 1st of July, we had knocked these numbers down. 12 people on vents, 21 cases a day. But we're seeing them come back up, particularly in the number of the new cases. And so while we're less than the state of Michigan as a whole, as far as infection rate, in fact, we're lower than the suburbs, but we are still running double where we were a month ago. And we have got to be conscious. There are starting to get to be way too many crowds in our parks, in our backyard parties, and in some areas of downtown. We want you to be out. We want you to enjoy this, but please wear a mask. The number of folks I'm seeing downtown in some of these parks without masks is really concerning. We know what is going to happen. It will spike back up, and we'll have to shut the restaurants down again. We'll have to shut the auto plants down again. We'll have to shut the casinos back down again. We will be back into the kind of severe lockdown we had in March or April. I do think we're going to have a vaccine in this country in the early part of next year. But for the next 4 or 5 months, we have got to be disciplined about sticking to the masks. Otherwise, the governor is going to have no choice but to go back to shutting us down, and economically we just can't afford that in this city. We've now done more than 60,000 tests. Detroit remains the national leader on this. You can get a test tomorrow. Call and get a prescription. Call and get an appointment. You don't need a prescription. It's free. You can get in. You'll be out in less than 30 minutes. And so everybody here who's listening to me, if you're not feeling well, you want to have your symptom, or you just got folks, your parents, your grandparents around, you just want to check to be sure, call and make an appointment. You'll be in the next day. The testing has been a huge part of our success, and we need to stay with it. In District 5, I want to talk about what we're doing, because the downtown and midtown have done extremely well, and a good chunk of District 5 is in downtown and midtown, and you know how well things have gone here recently. But I was elected by the residents in the neighborhood, and I made a commitment that every neighborhood has a future. And we started on the commercial corridors in ways to say, we're going to create some of the finest commercial corridors anywhere in the state of Michigan right here in Detroit. This is the way Livernois looks right now, between 7 and 8 Mile. If you haven't been out there, it's remarkable. And this is what we're building right now on Grand River. Between Southfield and Losser. It's going to be absolutely beautiful, and encourage walking and shopping at the local stores so you won't have to go to the suburbs. In District 5, we also wanted to create one of these zones, but not in the downtown, midtown stretch where all the development is gone. We wanted to go to a stretch of folks who, when I was campaigning, told me their neighborhood had been forgotten, and that's the Lower East Side along the Kirchville-Mack area. And so we went down in the area of Kirchville and Van Dyke, an area that for many years has seen more people leaving than coming. We are now rebuilding the streetscape. If you drive down Kirchville right now, this is what you will see. And this is the kind of beautiful streetscape that we're going to build. We've already seen a number of storefronts open, get renovated, including that building on the right, which used to be a bank branch for NBD that has now been reopened. New housing is going up at Kirchville and Van Dyke, known as the Parker Durant. It's going to be open next year. Here's how it's going to look. Right on Kirchville, 96 new apartments, and 46 of them are being subsidized as affordable units permanently, which means that we are building new housing in this neighborhood where people of all incomes can afford to live in this community. Right down the block, we're going to be upgrading Butzel Park, which has not had an upgrade in quite some time. This is the way it looks today. It's behind the rec center over there off of Kirchville. But here's how it's going to look. We're going to be building it in September, and it's going to look like this by next year. This is the way we are going, one commercial corridor after another in the neighborhoods of the city. We can rebuild these neighborhood districts. Those of us who are old enough remember in Detroit when you could go up to the local neighborhood grocery store, the neighborhood shoe shop, and the like. You didn't have to drive out to a suburban mall. And we're going to try to rebuild that in all parts of this city again. And this is what you have to look forward to along Kirchville next year. But nothing has hit us harder than what's going on in the neighborhoods. And I don't have to tell anybody in this district about blight. Mayor Jerry Cavanaugh promised to get rid of the vacant houses in 1965. And it has been a failed promise for more than half a century. When President Obama was in, I went to Washington, D.C. repeatedly. And he helped us with $265 million. We got 21,000 houses done in 6 years. Detroit's never seen it. Nobody in America has seen anything like it. And in District 5, here's how much it mattered to the folks living in the neighborhood. If you happen to live on Missouri and live next door to that, it has now been cleared out and upgraded the whole neighborhood. On Baldwin, the folks to the right were living with that. Today, they've got a side lot that's beautiful. And they're now in a far better situation. This is a street we've seen all too often in the city, Lorraine Street, and with the effect of this program, here's the way that same block looks today. We've done this 21,000 times, and you know, it is a good feeling to drive down these streets. And if you see on that right picture, you see the folks on the ladder, they're fixing the house up on their own. Because when you wipe out the burned out houses, people invest in the other houses in the neighborhood. And that's when we're going to be successful, when it isn't the government doing it, but people on their own believe in their neighborhoods and they put money into their own homes. But we've still got 14,000 houses in the city that need to come down. And Donald Trump isn't coming to help us. It's something we're going to have to do on our own. 1,500 abandoned houses in District 5 cannot be saved. And this is a map. We know where every one of them is. Many of you could know exactly when you look at that dot which house it is in your block. I want to get to those. But here's the other piece, that it isn't just about demolition. We've got 8,000 houses in this city that can be saved and renovated. That means 8,000 families that can move into these houses. The pictures on the screen today are houses the land bank is selling right now. The land bank is now out of the demolition business. They're into the home sales business, which is where they should have been all along, and nobody could be happier than the land bank to be talking about putting properties back into use. But each one of those homes is available today. District 5 has 1,200 vacant houses that could be saved if we act now. And that's why I am really glad that City Council put Proposal N on the ballot for November 3rd, because it's going to give you the opportunity to act now. And so here are the principles of Proposal N. That the first thing we're going to do is save every house we can save. 8,000 of them by securing the exterior of every house right away, and I'll show you how that's going to work. We're going to demolish 8,000 houses that can't be saved. And we're going to bring the program back into city government. The federal rules required all cities to run their demolition programs through land banks. It didn't work out well for most of them. It was not the right thing to do. Now it's come back into city government with all the protocols and protections we normally have. And because we're using city funds, we can give preference in contracting to Detroit companies. When you use federal money, you can't give any local company a preference. But with our money, we can give priorities to Detroit companies, and we can get them to hire 51% Detroiters. So we can put, in this time of economic recession, Detroiters back to work, and we can do all of it with no increase in your taxes beyond what you're paying today. And I'm going to show you how. And so we've had lots of houses in District 5 that have been renovated. We know people walked away from really good houses. And this is what we've done thousands of times already. This house in another day would have just been demolished. And here's the way it's been restored. And East Grand Boulevard was an area that might have been given up on at one time. You see this happening across the board, people reinvesting. And East Grand Boulevard and West Grand Boulevard, too, started to become restored to their historic status, a house at a time. But here's what happens. 1,000 times a year, we have an abandoned house that could be saved. But because we do not act, it deteriorates. And you've seen it happen. Vandals get in, the rain gets in through the hole in the roof, somebody lights it on fire. 1,000 houses a year that can be saved end up lost. Like this house on Chapin, here's how it looked in March of 2018. That house is absolutely salvageable. And a year later, it had to be demolished. This house on Seminole, you can see, structurally sound, very savable. Unfortunately, a year later, a total loss. We can take those 8,000 houses and we can move with Proposal N. We will go inside, and the first thing we'll do is we'll clean them out. You know what kind of stuff is inside these houses and the backyards and the like. We'll go in and clean them out. Then we have gone through the city and put plywood on the vacant houses, and that's a good thing. The plywood's better than nothing. But we've all seen cases where they pull the plywood off, the drug dealers move in, squatters move in, somebody's lighting a fire in there. And so plywood is not the ideal level of protection. We want to go to these houses and put in the secure view, basically bulletproof plastic that covers the doors and the windows. You can only get in with a heavy-duty lock. If we can secure those or use the steel doors to secure them, which is another means to do it, if we go through and secure all the houses that can be saved and then get up on the roofs and fix the holes in the roof, so now the rain's not coming in. Once you do that, people know I can buy that house. I can put a furnace in and it's not going to get stolen. I can start to redo a kitchen and it's going to be secure in this house. We believe we can get folks to take on these houses and we'll partner with neighbors, we'll partner with community groups, we'll partner with churches, and we will have these houses have 8,000 families in them instead of 8,000 holes in your neighborhood. Now, how does this happen without your taxes going up? Well, the way bonds work is we sell bonds over a period of time and pay them off just like a mortgage on your house, except our financial situation has improved so rapidly since the bankruptcy, we can sell these bonds because we've had 7 credit rating upgrades since 2014. Detroit has really been the most effective in the country, and Standard & Poor's has given us national credit for how quickly we moved to deal with the financial problems of the COVID crisis. We've already paid down $180 million in principal from the time we came out of bankruptcy. We are way ahead of schedule, which means that because our other debt is being paid down, we can borrow these monies without your taxes going up. It's much like if you were to refinance your house, you could fix your kitchen and pay it off over more years, and we will add more years on the end, but your annual payment won't go up. And that's what we will be able to do here. Your taxes won't go up above their current levels. Something happened this time when we went to put proposal land on the ballot that I've never seen happen. Our local contractors, Detroit contractors, particularly the black contractors, stepped forward and said, this is what we have been waiting for. We could not get preference under the federal rules. They won't allow it. But what happened was our contractors said, we know when you're under the Detroit preferences, where you get percentage advantages for being Detroit headquartered, you get percentage advantages for hiring 51% Detroiters in your district, in your business, that we will get the lion's share of the business. And the Detroit contractors went to council and said Proposal N is our ballot proposal. This is our opportunity to build wealth in this community. And they have agreed to the executive order requiring them to employ 51% Detroiters or pay into the Detroit Training Fund. We can put Detroiters to work improving this neighborhood. And you're about to hear from Nicole Sherrod-Freeman, who's going to be able to do that. And John, before I bring Nicole up, if somebody could grab a paper towel, because I don't want to expose Nicole to the water I just spilled. It's not too bad, but a paper towel would be helpful. Oh, look at this. The always prepared Corporation Counsel, Lawrence Garcia, finest Corporation Counsel in Michigan, if you ever have a problem. And I think, Nicole, if you're careful, that's going to be fine. So we're asking for voters to decide on November 3rd that we could either have our houses that were in good shape deteriorate, or we could have houses that look like this become improved to look like that. And that's a choice. It's your money. It's your pocketbook. It's your vote. And on November 3rd, we're going to make a decision. Have our kids lived in these blighted communities long enough? So at this point, I'm going to ask Nicole Sherrod-Freeman. If you could hand me that, maybe just, I don't want to discredit Lawrence, but I made a little bit more of a mess than he solved. Oh, we're going to have to open this from scratch. Nicole, you're never going to forgive me over this. So this is an interesting thing that we have. Come on, Nicole, you can stay here. I had this idea that the city of Detroit could recruit jobs and businesses back here. And we've been enormously successful. Fiat Chrysler, 5,000 jobs at a plant. Flexingate, 500 jobs at a plant. We just announced Amazon, 1,200 jobs come into town. Ford Motor Company is going to have 5,000 people working at the train station in the neighborhood. But we said, that's all great. But if what we do is create a bunch of jobs for suburbanites, we haven't accomplished anything. I want to have the city where there is more opportunity than any other community in this country. How do we make sure that Detroiters are prepared for those jobs, have the right training, and get first shot at them? And we have an absolutely great leader. And you've seen the Detroit at Work billboards, you've seen the 8 agencies, and now I want to introduce you to the director behind Detroit at Work, Nicole Sherrod-Freeman.
Thanks very much, Mayor. So, good evening, District 5. I want to talk with you about 5 things this evening, briefly. I want to talk about FCA, because everybody wonders where we are. I want to talk about Grow Detroit's Young Talent. I want to update you on what happened with our young people this summer. I want to talk about jobs and careers beyond FCA. So as the mayor just said, he is creating a city in which there's opportunity for everybody, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about a couple of other ways that Detroit at Work can help beyond a job or a career. And then I want to tie it all together with an announcement about a new way that we're going to help you keep on top of all this. So let's start with FCA. So you'll remember that between June 2019 and just right before shutdown, we had about 1,100 Detroit at Work Fca Readiness Events. And you'll remember that these were the events you had to go through to actually get on the list, right? So FCA told us exactly what they were looking for in new hires, and then we built a program that would deliver that. And if you went through a Detroit at Work Fca Readiness program and you finished it, then that means you got on the list. And so I want to update you this evening and tell you that through FCA Detroit at Work Readiness, there were 16,000 Detroiters who got on the list for priority through FCA. 16,000 Detroiters. And that means we sent FCA 16,000 names of Detroiters who'd gone through the program, and every single one of them got a link to apply for an FCA job and to get priority on an FCA job. Now, not everybody applied, of course. So far, 8,600 Detroiters have applied. It isn't too late. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what happened with those 8,600 Detroiters who submitted an FCA application? Well, a lot of them got through, and 2,000 of them have already completed interviews, and that's great. But the important part here is that there are 1,200 offers underway. 1,200 Detroiters who got priority, finished the app, got through that math and mechanical reasoning test, and of those 1,200 offers, 500, more than 500 Detroiters actually, have already accepted their offer. 300 of them are going to start now. They're going to start at either the Sterling Heights Assembly Plant, called SHAP for short, or Sterling Stamping. And they're going to work there until the jobs at Mack Engine become available. 300 Detroiters are starting right now, and there are already more than 1,000 interviews more that are scheduled. So the good news is it's not too late. If you are still interested in getting on the list, you've got one more day. You can go to DetroitAtWork.com. You can call us at 962-9675, and there is still time for you to go through the FCA Detroit at Work Readiness Event and get on the list. And then you have time to apply because FCA extended the application deadline to August 30th. So you can get on the list as late as tomorrow and still have until August 30th to complete your FCA application. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about Grow Detroit's Young Talent. It's the city's summer youth employment program, and you'll remember that starting in 2015, we got actually 8,000 kids ready every summer for the past 4 summers. Got 8,000 kids, I should say young people, connected to a paid opportunity. Well, across the state of Michigan and across the country, there are lots of summer youth employment programs that had to cancel this year. They had no idea how they were going to raise money, no way to connect with employers, and zero idea of how to get young people to stay socially distant. In Detroit, we never thought about canceling GDYT. Not once. Under the mayor's leadership and with city council support, not once did we think about telling our young people that they wouldn't have a summer job. In fact, we still provided 8,000 paid summer youth experiences. Now, 6,100 of them were online, and we tried to reserve those for the younger kids, 14 to 18, who might have a little more difficulty staying socially distant. 1,900 of them were in person, and that means we reserved those for the older youth, 18 to 24, but those were on-site jobs. But our young people were still paid somewhere between $10 and $15 an hour for 120 hours. 8,000 opportunities, and we gave our young people a choice. So I know what you're thinking. You're looking at 6,100 opportunities online, and you're thinking, but with Detroit's digital divide, how do we do that? We raised funding. We raised funding to supplement what Detroit Public Schools Community District did with their young people, which is they, as you may know, are providing a device and connectivity for all 41,000 of their young people. And some of those young people are GDYT youth, but many are not. So we needed a solution for the GDYT young people who were not students of Detroit Public Schools. We actually distributed more than 2,400 laptop packages. That was a laptop or a tablet, a hotspot so you can connect, internet service for 3 months at a minimum, 6 months for some of our young people, and technical support, which means if our young people are having trouble from anything, ranging from how do I turn this tablet on, I've never seen this kind, to I can't get my program up, there's a number that they can call for technical support. And here's the thing, our young people get to keep the device. So when the summer is over, they can keep those devices to connect to academic activities, extracurricular activities. We want to keep them engaged, especially through the winter months and until we are hopefully opening up again in spring with some positive ways for our young people to stay connected. Not every young person enjoyed being online. Some really struggled. But what I want you to take away from this, and what I hope our young people see here, is that our young people have choice. So now I want to shift a little bit and talk about opportunities beyond FCA. So we've talked a lot about the 5,000 opportunities that FCA is bringing to Detroit. What we don't talk about as much are the opportunities with the suppliers. So FCA brought 7 or 8 suppliers with them, many of whom have an active relationship with us. And what they've said to us is, well, let me see. So if you built this model for FCA and you've got 16,000 Detroiters who qualified and there are only 5,000 jobs, there are Detroiters who still want an opportunity. And so I want to talk a little bit about the opportunities in the autos, beyond the autos, and how we're trying to, as the mayor said, ensure that Detroit is a city where there is an opportunity for everyone. So there are 2 reasons that I want to talk with you a little bit about Dakota and Universal. The first is because I want to be sure you know about the jobs. So Dakota is giving priority to Detroiters. You may recall they're on the old Kettering High School site. They're leaving the Big K, and they're building on the back part of the property. But they've got 300 jobs. They make the dashboard for FCA. These are full-time jobs with benefits, $13.25 an hour. You don't have to have a high school diploma. You don't need any experience. You've got to get through a drug screen, and actually there's a test for color blindness that you take if you go to DetroitAtWork.com, because they need to be sure you're able to sort the parts the right way. But that is an entry-level opportunity connected to FCA for Detroiters right now. Now, they're only hiring a handful of folks this year, 40 or so. The majority will happen in 2021, but Detroiters get the first shot. The second opportunity I want to be sure you know about is Universal. And so you may recall that they're over in the I-94 industrial corridor near Flexingate. So there are 800 openings right now. They just held a job fair last Friday and Saturday in partnership with Detroit at Work. These are warehouse workers at $14 an hour. They're high-low operators at $15 or so an hour. And they're CDL-A licensed drivers at $19 an hour. You have to have a high school diploma, but you don't have to have any experience as long as you've got the certifications you need for either the high-low drivers or the CDL-A. So we wanted to be sure that you knew about these opportunities, but there's another story here. Think about this for a second. There's the $13.25 per hour job that does not require a high school diploma and no experience is required. And then there's the Universal opening, which requires no experience, but you got to have your high school diploma. What isn't listed here is Detroit Manufacturing Solutions. What isn't listed here is New Center Stamping. There are so many other suppliers who supply FCA and Ford, and we hope soon the other of the big 3. But there's a career pathway. So what I want you to take from this is that these are not dead-end jobs where you get in, make $13.25, and that's it. If you get in and do well, there's a pathway for you elsewhere, whether it's in Dakota or at Universal or at DMS or New Center Stamping or other places across the system. We want you to see that when you get in and do well, there's an opportunity for you to move up. But what if the autos aren't your thing? We want you to know that at DetroitAtWork.com there are other opportunities. We've got fire protection technicians. You know, there's still a significant shortage of laborers in the construction and skilled trades. There are opportunities whether you are coming in at ground level with no experience, whether you have a year or 2 or 4 or 5, or whether you're experienced. We want you to know that there's an opportunity. What about people who don't want anything to do with manufacturing? They don't want to work for the autos or an auto supplier, and not particular about working with their hands, but they've got, a real heart for taking care of people in a healthcare system. Or what about folks who see themselves in a career in IT? I raise these so that you know that we are not just about creating entry-level opportunities in manufacturing or across other industries. We are really focused on being sure that we've got solid pathways to middle-class jobs. But what if working for somebody else isn't what you want to do? What if you've long dreamt of owning your own business? Is there a place in Detroit for you if that's your dream? The answer is yes. So you may recall that a couple weeks ago, the mayor and others made the announcement about Amazon and the new transit hub moving over to the state fairgrounds if city council approves the purchase agreement. And if they approve the purchase agreement and Amazon comes, and we hope they will, then that means 1,200 jobs at $15 an hour plus benefits. And that's great. But the thing I want to lift up for you here is Amazon is not just bringing fulfillment jobs or warehouse jobs. They're bringing small business opportunities. Now, none of this is a promise. Nothing here is a guarantee. But you know those folks who bring the packages to your doors if you order from Amazon? Not many people know that those are independent business owners. They have their own fleet, they have their own employees, they run their own marketing, they use Amazon's support and Amazon's engine for sure, but those are their own businesses. And so what Amazon is bringing with them are delivery service partner small businesses that you can apply for. Again, no guarantees, you got to do all the hard work. But the way that Detroit at Work is going to help you get ready is by launching later this year the Detroit at Work Entrepreneurship Training Academy. So short course, couple weeks, fully paid if you are eligible, and we're going to introduce you to the basics of running your own business, help you flesh out your idea if you want your own business, but Amazon's not really your thing. We want to be sure there's a place for you to build your ideas, get the connections that you need to successfully run a small business, and have a way to plug in. Now, maybe you aren't thinking about either of those things. Maybe you're not thinking about a job or a career, and you are certainly not ready for your own small business. Maybe you just want to get back to the basics. In July, in partnership with DPS-CD, Detroit at Work launched, we think the first of its kind in the area, a paid high school completion program. So if you are 18 or older, and you were supposed to graduate high school in 2016 or before, then we will pay you $10 an hour, up to 20 hours a week, for up to 6 months to complete your high school diploma. Now, you got to test first because we have to be sure that your skills are at a 7th grade level or above. But if they are, we can get you on track to completing your GED if you've got a lot of coursework to complete, or if you dropped out in 11th or 12th grade and you only have 4 or 5 classes left to take, then maybe the paid high school completion program is right for you. The point is, you have choices. So what I want to leave you with from this part of the discussion is that whether you're a young person who just finished up a summer job and you're looking for an internship, whether you are an adult ready for an entry-level job, whether you're ready to start thinking about a career, whether you want to start your own business, or whether you got to finish up some of the basic points first, there is a place for you in what we are building. There is work for all with Detroit at Work. So how do you connect to all this? Because that was a whole lot of information and there's no way you retained it all. In a couple ways. First, you can connect with us at DetroitAtWork.com. If you can't get to us online, you can call us at 962-9675. Again, that's 962-WORK. And if you can't get to us online, and if a phone call doesn't feel like it's enough, you can call us to make an appointment. You may remember that just before shutdown, we started to do grand openings. We'd expanded the number of Detroit at Work career centers from 3, using 1 partner, to 8, using 10 partners. There's 1 in your neighborhood. They're not all open right now because we're still making some construction changes so that we can all be safe and socially distant. But there are 5 sites that are open. We ask that you call us, again, at 313-962-9675 to make an appointment. But there's a way to reach us. Except what if you're in a spot where you can't get online and you don't want to pick up the phone and you're certainly not ready to come into a Detroit at Work Career Center? I want to just mention that last week or 2 weeks ago, the mayor and Deputy Mayor Conrad Mallett announced the Community Health Corps. And the Community Health Corps is a program that we are kicking off just in October of this year with a few customers who are Gary Brown's clients at the Water Department, or they are clients of Don Rencher in housing. And we're going to try this. We're going to try coming to you. When you can't come to us and you are in a really rough housing situation, you're in some sort of bad situation that you've got 5 problems to solve before you can even think about getting a job, we're coming to you and we're coming to help. And then lastly, I want to leave you with, how do you keep track of all this? You know, from the training opportunities that I didn't even talk about, we've got 31 training providers who are providing more than 60 opportunities. There's a lot happening at Detroit at Work. And so we will launch tomorrow, August 25th, on Channel 21 at 11 and 6, and Channel 22 every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m., 10,000 opportunities. We want you to tune in. We're going to take you inside FCA. We're going to take you inside other auto manufacturers, suppliers. We're going to take you inside the corridors of employers and other industries. We want to bring to you what in these times is a little hard to get out and see for yourself, and that's what is all this opportunity about and how do I connect to it. So tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m., Channel 21. Tune in to 10,000 Opportunities because we want to help you find yours. Mayor?
So thank you, Nicole. You can see what we're trying to do. My first few years here, we spent all of our time trying to build a city government that could get your street lights on, could get the ambulances to show up, could get the grass cut in the parks, could get the buses to run. Now we're building a different kind of city government. We're building a city government that can help you make your dreams, whether it's the high school degree, whether it's the new job, whether it was a training opportunity, whether it's starting your business. We want to be the city government that helps you pursue those opportunities. And now, starting tomorrow, Nicole has her own TV show. And so on 10,000 Opportunities, we'll be watching together. All right, so this is the part where we'll answer questions. This is District 5. I would ask folks to give the people who live in District 5 the chance to get in the early calls, and then we'll take questions from anybody in the city. And so those of you who've done this before, you can raise your hand. If you're on the telephone, you press *9. When you come on, just tell me your name and what neighborhood you live in, and ask any question you like. In the room here are folks from the police department, the health department, the water department, the housing department, the law department, all kinds of departments. And so if I don't know the answer, there are the city officials who will be able to answer it for you. If you don't have a question and you just want to make a statement, you have 60 seconds, and after that, you'll be muted so that we can get to everybody, and we'll keep taking questions till 8:30. So let's start with our first caller, if we have one, and tell us your name and where you live.
Yes, the first is Greg.
Is Greg on the line?
Hey, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, how are you, Greg? Where do you live?
I live in Newsom.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if 2nd Street, just north of West Grand Boulevard, has seen an insane amount of speeding going up and down it because it's a one-way street north of West Grand Boulevard, and was wondering if there's a chance that it can be turned back into a two-way street like 3rd and Cassar. Unfortunately, there's just way too much speeding there. The design of the street being a one-way street has allowed for that to happen, and I know speed bumps can't go there, but maybe if there was a way to turn it back into a two-way street.
So I am a big fan. Of course, we did that on 2nd, farther down south of you, and everybody said it'd be terrible, and it worked out really well. But I'm going to turn it over to the person who's actually in charge. Ron Brundage, our DPW director, can tell you the process for how that gets evaluated, but I would be interested in that. But let's hear from the man in charge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As he indicated, and as I'm sure you're aware, we did about 4 or 5 years ago convert segments of both 2nd and 3rd Street south of Grand Boulevard from one-way to two-way, and it's worked out really well. It accomplishes a lot of things, one being actually slowing down traffic because you don't have those 3 or 4 lanes going in the same direction. It allows for people to move a little faster. I'll be quite honest with you. We really haven't looked at or hadn't previously received a request to consider converting 2nd Street north of Grand Boulevard. But if you can leave your information, I'd love to get in contact with you tomorrow just to have that first conversation. And we'll share with our traffic engineering division to kind of get their thoughts as to whether or not it really makes sense for that particular segment. But as you are full aware, we have had a lot of success in terms of really slowing down traffic by converting streets from one-way to two-way. So it's something we can definitely take a look at.
All right, so Greg, if we've got your contact number, Ron will call you tomorrow, and it'll be a community conversation because different people will have different ideas, but it's something that I think deserves serious consideration. Thank you for that call.
Great, thank you.
Next is Mark.
Mark, you're on.
Thank you. My name's Mark Reynolds. I live in the villages, Indian Village specifically. We're getting absolutely nailed by street racing and the hordes of partying and carrying on. And now recently a shooting at Irma Henderson Park, which is Burns and Jefferson. We've had meetings with the commander, and apparently there are some proposals where they need resources in order to get a handle on this real problem. It's just getting outrageous. The boom radios in Irma Henderson Park rattled my windows on the other side of Jefferson, 3 houses up. Can't get anybody to do anything about it because we have hundreds of police officers downtown. We need some help. And on a related piece, when the people are getting in and out of Jefferson because the lights are so badly timed, they're cutting through our streets like Burns. We have the entire first block of Burns unanimously put in requests for speed bumps, but we've been turned down. We maybe will see them late next year. Other streets in our neighborhood are getting them, but the street where everybody wants them isn't getting them. How come?
So let me try to take those in order. I completely agree with you. The timing on Jefferson, I experience it every day, and Ron Brundage knows my opinion about the timing of the lights. I know we're going to get it solved with a new system. With regard to the speed humps, we just started putting them in a couple of years ago to see how people would like them, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I think we're putting in 1,200 this year, and I'm hoping that we will complete every school and every park in the city because we got people zipping 40, 50 miles an hour through neighborhoods next to parks, which is really concerning. And then in next year's budget, we are going to have a major allocation for speed humps across this city. And there isn't a neighborhood I go to that doesn't have these same kind of concerns. As far as the resources of the police department, there's no question that what you're saying is true. And we are now bringing into the police academy between 30 and 40 officers, new officers every single month. Interestingly, despite all the protests, our recruiting is going very strong. And there is nothing that the police commanders in the precincts would like more than to have additional officers to have out on patrol cars. This summer what's happened, I don't have anything to do except just tell you exactly what happened. Normally, we would have dramatically increased park patrols in the summer. And that's what we do. And we have expanded them some, but the reality is we have been dealing with these protesters all over the city, and we never know when an issue is going to flare up. And we've had a huge allocation of police time this summer 12 weeks in to deal with that. We've also had a significant drifting issue with people gathering in large amounts to perform their figure eights in the middle of the road, and we've had to allocate a significant number to that. We've had an increase in shootings, and we've increased the number of officers on the shooting detail. And right now, our police department, I think, is doing an outstanding job, but I don't know that they've ever been stretched in as many directions as they are. So we just graduated another academy last week, and every month that goes by, the staffing will get better and better, but I am very hopeful that by next year, we will have the full allocation of the Parks Patrol back to where it was in recent years. And as far as a more immediate response, Deputy Chief Bedison is here, and he may be able to speak to what's going on at Irma Henderson Park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the record, Deputy Chief Bedison. Yeah, we definitely had a issue as far as drifting and allocating resources. I got a similar complaint from the area of Grand River and Oakman, and what we did to ensure that we had enough resources, we actually reached out to some of our partners. As a force multiplier, we reached out to Michigan State Police and also Wayne County Sheriff, so they assisted. And so the good people of that neighborhood experienced peace over the weekend, so I'll put Irma Henderson Park on that list as well, and we'll get you some relief, and I'll have a conversation with the commander, Commander Nicholas Giaquinto, so that we can do a better job, more enforcement when it comes to the noise ordinance as well. So thank you, sir, for bringing that question to our attention.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Chief. And I drive by it every day, and I'll be able to see if we can have an effect on it. Okay, next question.
Stephanie, you are next.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question about addressing homes that are owned privately and they're left vacant and there's no effort to renovate them. By the way, I'm in Arden Park, East Boston Historic District. And so it's an area of concern for those of us who are investing our dollars, our own hard-earned money in restoring these homes. And yet we see people buy the vacant homes and just sit on them.
You've got Arden Park home sitting vacant they're not putting any money into?
That's correct.
That's crazy. So I don't know, we can start with Dave Bell in the BC Department on ticketing, but Saskia, this is something that the land bank should think about filing a lawsuit on and filing a nuisance suit and get those homeowners either to get a timeline to fix them up or not. But in the meantime, I want us to get out immediately on ticketing. I'm going to ask Dave Bell, the BC director, to come up. I don't want you to tell me the addresses over the air, but we're going to take your name and number, and Dave will call you tomorrow to know where to follow up. But Dave, why don't you talk about what you can do from a ticketing standpoint?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we can definitely investigate these properties. If you have a vacant property in the city of Detroit, that vacant property must meet the vacant property ordinance requirements. They have to keep it up, they must register the property, and they must have a certificate of compliance. So we will get your contact information, we will have somebody contact you, and we will work on moving these properties into compliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
How many vacant houses have you still got in Arden Park?
Oh, between 12 and 15.
Okay, there's a real target for our nuisance abatement lawsuits, because there's no excuse at this point in the city's recovery to have those houses still being vacant. So we're going to get on that with a short-term strategy and a longer-term strategy. So thank you for that call.
Okay, Edith, you are next.
Hi, Mayor. My name is Edith Ford, and I work for MEC Development, and also I am a lifelong resident of the city, and I am upset about the speed bumps. I've been asking for speed bumps on Fisher Street where I live. My family's been here since 1942, from Gratiot to Mac.
Yeah.
I help do everything around here. I'm a community leader. I settle beefs. I try, I go with the police when they need suspects identified. I can't get speed bumps. and we can't get help with people shooting around here. Somebody was shooting outside of my bedroom window where I was sleeping with my 2-year-old last Saturday.
So,
And it's like shooting all the time.
um,
The speeding is ridiculous. And when you guys make a plan to stop things on Jefferson, they come north through our neighborhoods,
I know,
past Indian Village,
I know.
right into our narrow streets where we have a lot of kids running around, and I can see Pickery Park from my porch.
I know where you are. Fisher's used as a cut through from Gratiot to Mac and is the kind of street that warrants a speed hump. The way that the speed hump process works is we go through a process where we pick hundreds of streets, we bid them out, we get contractors lined up. It's a several-month process. The 1,200 have been selected and are being installed in this construction season. There's going to be a large number that are done starting in the spring for the next construction season. And I would say you should talk to Malia, your district manager, but I would think Fisher would be very high on the priority list, because I've been over there and I've seen the way that it is used. I wish I could get to every block in the city on the speed humps. When we first tried them 3 years ago, we put one in each city council district. I didn't know how people were going to respond, but they have become enormously popular. And on the shootings, we are experiencing it, as is Chicago and St. Louis and New York and pretty much every city in the country this year. The Detroit Police Department is, I've said, part of the reason we weren't responding to the parks is we've put more officers on the shooting response team. We've got a partnership now with ATF that is being more aggressive in taking illegal guns off the street, something that I think they should have been doing for years, but are getting more aggressive. And the other thing that was probably the most effective thing that we were doing on the shootings, we had a program called Ceasefire, where once a month the chief and I and the U.S. Attorney and a number of others would bring in 30 or 40 gang members and sit down face to face and talk about the fact that here are the resources coming after you if you use a gun. Here are all the resources to support you in your life. You make other choices. Those meetings were just enormously successful. We haven't been able to have any since February because of COVID. And so I know you don't want to hear all the excuses, but we know how bad the shooting situation is, and we're continuing to put more and more resources into it. And I hope you'll hang in there with us, but we know we've got to deal with it.
I just don't know how I'm supposed to protect my grandson and myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Next is phone number ending in 687.
If your phone number ends in 687, you are up. Tell us your name and where you live.
Yes, this is Brenda Butler. I'm in District 7.
Okay.
I mean, not District 7, I'm sorry. I'm in District 4.
Okay, what neighborhood?
Chandler Park.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Mayor, I've heard many of your presentations regarding the demolitions, the blight in our neighborhood, and I've been on many Zoom calls and visited many community meetings. Now, me as a senior citizen, what I see one of the major problems with this blight is every time I ask someone what's the budget for the houses that the city owns and the land bank owns to keep those properties like we as residents keep our properties, no one can tell me what the budget is.
Okay.
I need to know, how are we going to put a proposal on the ballot to get rid of blight and to put more people in the homes when the homes that are in the purview of the city, of the government
Time.
and the land bank, and you guys are not taking care of that property?
So let me answer that as best I can. The land bank has 92,000 properties. It doesn't have 92,000 properties because it wants the properties. It didn't want any properties. The land bank took 92,000 properties because the treasurer foreclosed on them. And if the land bank didn't take them, they would have gone to the state of Michigan. As you can imagine, it is very difficult to manage. And so what we have done is this. We've knocked down 21,000, we've renovated 8,000, we've taken 15,000 side lots and sold 15,000 side lots to neighbors. We cut the front of every vacant house 4 times a year. That's not the level that you would maintain your own property, but that's what we have the resources to do right now. Now, every time we get a house down, that entire lot gets cut. Every time we get a house renovated, it's one less that we have to handle. And right now, the land bank is selling 200 or 300 houses a month on buildingdetroit.org. There is a budget of probably about $3 million to cut the front grass of every one of those properties 4 times a year. And then we go in on an emergency basis. If a tree is falling over on a house or there's a rodent problem, we'll go in and deal with a more intense situation. But the solution is to get these buildings either occupied or knocked down. And until we do, we're not going to have the resources to maintain them in a way that you'll be satisfied with. That's just the truth.
But who made the decision to just cut the front grass? The property is the property.
I understand. So this in this city.
So I just go ahead.
So we cut every overgrown vacant lot in this city, whether it's city-owned or privately owned, once it gets above a particular level, 4 times a year. With regard to the houses, we cut the front yards. If we got into the backyards, we'd never get through the first cut. There is so much back in those backyards. So it's $1.5 million a cut citywide right now, 4 cuts a year. And if we were to get into the backyards, it'd be triple that. And now you're talking about taking money out of police, which, as you've heard, there are a lot of needs there. It comes out of health, et cetera. So I'm trying to strike the right balance. Before I got here, the city didn't cut the grass all summer long. My first year, we cut it once, then twice, then 3 times. Now we're cutting it 4 times. I appreciate that you're demanding more. You should demand more. But at the moment, those are the resources we have to get it 4 times a year. The answer has got to be to get out of the business of the land bank owning properties, and that's what we're trying to do.
So can we find out what the budget actually is?
I'm telling you what it is.
For,
So
say that again?
it's about $3 million to cut the grass. And if we pass this bond issue, it'll be $250 million to get these houses knocked down or renovated. Otherwise, it'll basically be $3 million to cut the grass. So that's, there isn't a department in the city I wouldn't like to give more money to right now. But that's just where we are.
Next is Jacqueline.
Good evening, Jacqueline, you're on.
Good evening, Mayor. My question is, well, the last lady kind of answered my question, one of them. I also would like to get in touch with Dave Bell about a privately owned home next to me that is overgrown. So if he can call me or I can call him, doesn't matter.
If we've got your name and number, you will get a call from Dave Bell's operation in the morning.
Wonderful.
We've got it,
now,
okay.
I also wanted to ask, what are the plans for my neighborhood? I live in 48210 on Hartford, and the whole neighborhood is just in serious trouble, from Warren to Tireman, from the Boulevard to McGraw. Are there any plans for us over here? Because we just
You're in District 7. Is that right?
No, District 5.
You're in District 5.
District 5.
Okay. Arthur, let's see, Arthur Jemerson is here. I don't know of any specific plan in that area, but if somebody knows, he would know the answer to that, or if Malia knows.
Good evening. Nice to hear from you.
Evening.
Can you tell me again the boundaries of the area you're talking about? I heard
Warren,
Junction and I heard
Park,
East Grand.
and West Grand Boulevard, all the way to McGraw. Do you know what I'm
Okay.
talking about?
So I basically do, and there is not right now an operating plan in your neighborhood, but I understand, and what we're planning to do is we made a commitment as part of Proposal N in our negotiations with council to complete a neighborhood plan in every part of the city over the next 5 years. We're going to do that with a combination of local generated funds and CDBG. And so we're going to be able to get to every neighborhood over the next 5 years. May I make a gentle recommendation? So when we brought the SNF and the neighborhood planning associated that leads to SNF investment to different parts of the city, one part of the city raised its hand and said, we really think we need to be part of what's happening, and we need to be the first place that gets a new neighborhood plan. So that was the Russell Woods and Arden Park group. So I can't promise that your neighborhood will be the very next neighborhood, but I can let you know that the Department of Neighborhoods, people like Malia and others have a really important voice in where the next round of plans will happen. And as we're leaving the first stage of neighborhood plan and going to the next, if you'd like plan to come to your neighborhood, please speak with Malia. She's got the ear of housing, planning, all the other areas about where that work needs to happen. So if you're not seeing the activity that you want, talking to your Department of Neighborhoods representative and then getting in touch with us is the way to do it. Certainly.
Yes, because
bringing it up
the
to date.
mayor told us if we hung in here, we were going to get some kind of reward by our neighborhoods being renovated. And we're hanging in here. I've been here since the 50s. And I take care of my property. I pay my taxes, and I clean up yards that are not mine. And I really, really need some help and some kind of incentive to keep going, because my kids are trying to get me to move.
Yeah, we're moving, we're making progress down West Grand Boulevard north of you before it turns south. We've got a project that's going to be an employment center further out McGraw. But they're heading towards you, but they would not be what you consider your immediate neighborhood. If we could do one thing to make your neighborhood better right now, what would it be?
Tear the house down next to me.
Okay, well, we can do that.
I would buy the lot and make a decent
is that
fenced-in driveway and garage, but you
Okay.
know, I can't even get them to clean the house up, so I didn't know if it
So
would be.
I want you to leave us your address, but I'm probably getting ahead of myself here. But one of the things I intend to do when we, assuming we pass Proposal N, is the first year, I've asked the team, I want every abandoned house that's next to an occupied house to be taken down first. I want to protect the neighbors on both sides and directly across the street and behind as the first order of business. Because you got to worry every night. Does the house next door catch on fire? Does it spread to my house? Is somebody in there? And the like.
Got it.
So we're going to focus on the house next to you. But if you will give your name and number there, we're going to find out where you are so that, assuming we're successful on November 3rd, we're going to make sure that address is right up at the top of the list.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Too.
Okay, Denise, you are next.
Okay, Denise, you're on.
Good evening, Mayor. How are you?
Good.
Great. My name is Denise Lyles. I live in District 5. My question, on one of the community meetings before, I asked about advance, and are we going to be going back with them? Because we've had so many problems over here, even with them dumping stuff over and not getting it in front of seniors' houses, where I've had to go clean it up because the senior is complaining.
So Ron Brundage is dealing with them right now. So Ron, come on up.
This meeting, as well as the next three, all cover West Side neighborhoods, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of comments about advanced disposal over the next three meetings. I would first just like to ask for a little clarification. One of the comments you made was you indicated that Advance was dumping some debris at a location.
I'm I'm sorry, let me clarify that. They didn't dump, they knocked the trash can over. So they just left the trash there. It was in front of a blind senior's house. So I'm a community leader. She's calling me saying, is there something going on with the sewers? Because all she could do was smell it. She didn't realize it was just trash dumped in front of her house.
Okay. First thing I want to say is over the last couple of weeks, I've had 3 separate meetings with advanced leadership. Your comments are not the first ones that we've heard, especially the last 4 to 6 weeks or so. And, obviously we've reinforced to them, what their responsibilities are, whether they're picking up garbage containers, recycling containers, bulk or yard waste. This season, we're having more issues than ever before with regards to complaints of bulk and yard waste not being serviced on those biweekly bulk days. And, although in some cases we are seeing that, maybe some residents are not, fully complying with our requirements in terms of how much they can set out or whether it's set out appropriate. But unfortunately, too often what we're seeing is that, whether it's containers or debris that should be serviced is not being picked up. And to be quite honest, we're seeing a disproportionate number of issues in areas that Advance is servicing compared to our Eastside waste hauler GFL. So our contract with Advance was awarded last year. So it is a 5-year contract. They do have requirements to adhere to all of the terms of the contract. So right now we're not necessarily looking at a new contract, but if we're not able to get Advance performing at a level that we feel is fully consistent with the requirements of the contract, then of course we'll continue taking a look at that. But I just want to let you know that that your concern or the issue that you raised is not, it's not a unique concern, that we've heard it before, and we're going to stay on Advance until we're certain that the level of service that's being provided is what our citizens deserve and what they're required to do per the terms of their contract.
Thank you.
Sent another note to our legal team. We have far more complaints about Advance than we have on GFL. So there's real legitimate issues here, and we're going to put them on notice about contract enforcement. And I think Ron's right. I think we hear a lot more complaints. I hear more complaints about Advance than almost anything in this city right now. All right.
Next is Norma.
Hey, Norma, you're on.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Where do you live?
I live right at Euclid and 3rd.
Okay.
My question, I know they talk about the speed bumping, but I want to know is Euclid prepared to get a speed bump?
So
Correct.
there is going to be a process for next spring to install a very large number of speed humps in this city. And Malia Howard, your district manager, will be working on an evaluation of the streets in District 5, as well as each of the other district managers in the other districts. And so I'll have Malia call you tomorrow. I assume we have your contact information. And I'm well aware of the fact we have to dramatically increase the number of speed humps installed next year.
Okay. My next question is illegal dumping.
Mm-hmm.
I have a neighbor that instead of putting out their bulk in front of their house, it's a garage across the street, so he go and dump all his garbage in the area. How do you go about writing them a ticket or some kind of warning for them to not do that? Because when we approached them, it wasn't a good approach.
Okay, so do we have a name and number array? You're going to get a call in the morning from our BC department, and they know how to go out and write a ticket. So I don't want you to say the address over the air, but we will call you tomorrow, and we will come out and deal with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
I have another one.
Okay, go ahead. You're quick with your questions, so keep going.
Down the street from me, it's maybe halfway sideways, and they have two dug up area where the kids, when they walk down the street, one of them fall in the hole on my sidewalk.
And I said I was going to say something about it, but I didn't.
Okay.
So,
Where is the hole in the sidewalk?
yep.
What street
So
between what and
where?
what?
It's between second and third.
Second and third on Euclid.
Yes.
Okay, Ron, would you please get out tomorrow? And we may not be able to solve all the problems in the world, but I'm pretty confident Ron Brundage can fix that sidewalk so the children on your block are safe, all right? He'll get out there and do that.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next is phone number ending in 550.
Okay, if your phone number ends in 550, tell us your name and where you live.
Okay, my name is Washington, and I live in District 3, but this question is Detroit Universal issue.
Okay?
Regarding work for older adults over 50, I've heard us talk about young adults, but in working in community, there are many older adults, 50 plus, who are looking for work and need an opportunity, but don't know which way to go to even look for employment.
Okay, well, over 50 doesn't sound that old to me, but Nicole Sherrod-Freeman is going to tell you exactly how to do it.
Thank you for your call. I got to tell you, over 50 is not that old to me either.
I agree.
I'm really glad you called because you're right. We never talk about opportunities for older adults, although I have to tell you, over 50 is not an older adult. I feel very strongly about that.
And I'm older than that, so I totally agree.
Yes, we agree together on that. So I want, if you could leave, be sure, so we have your name and number, so I'm going to reach out to you sometime tomorrow because I want to talk specifically about what it is you're interested in, and your call along with a few other people that just coincidentally I've talked to in the past couple of weeks who are over 50 and want to work. I think we have to figure out a different way to communicate. So I'd love to talk with you tomorrow, have you help me think through that. So I'll call you sometime tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
So Nicole and I are both conscious of that, and I can tell you that we are actively recruiting industries like call center operations into the city of Detroit, jobs that wouldn't require you to be on your feet all day, because we're trying to find segments of jobs, even if you work in a hospital and you're a licensed practical nurse, you're on your feet all day. But we want to find a mix of jobs for everybody, and we think we can be a major call center, bring some of those jobs back from India and bring them here to Detroit.
I agree, and willing to work.
Yep. All right. Well, Nicole's going to call you tomorrow. She probably has some already. All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Next is Omar.
Omar, you're on.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is Omar, and I live in the Richton Rosa Parks area, soon to have a dog park in this area, helping the community out. I'm a block club leader, and I also, formed the block club for my area here.
Congratulations.
And my boundaries are between 12th and 14th, Richton to Monterey, or Cortland to Monterey area.
Okay.
And in those three city blocks, we've gotten a lot of blight that has been thrown out and put out. And it's not because it's blight, it's me. I'm cleaning this area up. 23 blocks, Mayor, I take care of over here. My whole unemployment checks I've taken, and I've rented a Bobcat. I've bought lawnmower equipment to beautify my neighborhood because I want better over here. I need help.
What can I do to help you?
I need help with fencing to put up on my dog park. I need help with just dumpsters.
Is this a city dog park, or is this something you're doing on your own?
This is what I'm doing on my own.
Okay, you know what? We're going to find a way to help you. So if you need dumpsters, we can do that. For anybody who's doing the kind of effort you are, we're going to find resources to help you. I don't know about the fence, but I know we can do dumpsters. What else can we do to be helpful?
We need garbage cans over here.
Okay, garbage cans. What else?
Garbage cans up and down Rosa Parks where people won't throw their garbage on the ground. Coming from Cass community, and when Job Corps was open, these areas, it's only one store over here.
Is
And
Job
we
Corps closed because of COVID, or is it closed permanently?
it's only one store over here because there's only one grocery store from
Yeah, I
here
know. I know.
down to Rosa Parks in Claremont. That's the closest. You have the one on Davidson, but it's hard to get over there to it. I have been partnering with the guy that owns the building and trying to open the grocery store up that is right across the street from where the dog park is. We all need help over here. We're
You know
trying to
what?
build this.
I want to come see you. Malia, do you know where this gentleman lives? Malia knows you well. So I'm going to have Malia set up a time. I want to see your bobcat. I want to see your dog park. I mean, it's just inspiring to listen to what you're doing. And I need to find a way to help you. So how about if I come out and visit you and we figure this out together?
I would really appreciate that.
All right.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank
How
you.
many people at your block club?
Everybody, even the squatters, they're even helping me. I bought a chainsaw. We cut down trees.
My kind of
around.
politician. All right, I definitely got to come meet you. He's got the squatters voting him for block club president. All right, I'll be out in the next week or
Gotta
so.
make sure that we keep up the area. They at least got to cut their grass. And if they don't have a lawnmower, hey, use mine. Keep my area up. Keep our area up. That way we can grow as a community.
All right, I'm coming out to meet you. All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We got the information. All right, who's next?
Okay, next is Halima.
Hi, loves.
How
My name
are
is
you?
Halima. I'm a homeowner, business owner, but most importantly, I'm a mom. I'm an artist in the urban gardener in District 5.
Okay.
I'd like to know, what is the city's response to the excessive force of violence exerted over the peaceful demonstrators exercising their First Amendment rights this past weekend? I'm about to break out into tears. People are asking for their humanity to be recognized. And was this some sort of test or training? Because what I saw were major fails in the show of compassion and humanity and law. So please, Mr. Mayor, if you could clarify, what is the city's stance on peaceful assembly and the right to free speech? And if I have a little bit more time, our neighborhood does have plans. I'm in the North End. I'm in the historic North End. A lot of artists live here. A lot of people live here. And what we are working on is a better world for our children. And so how do we also put those plans forth? Because we've seen development happening in our neighborhood that does not include us.
So I've been in a number of meetings in the North End, and it's a very active group. And if there's something in particular you want to talk about, I know Malia Howard will be out to talk to you about that. As far as this weekend, I am a great believer in free speech, and all of us had our hearts broken watching the murder of George Floyd. But for 12 weeks, we've had protesters in this city, and now there's 70–80% people coming in from the outside. Our police department has been out there making sure they could march safely, making sure they aren't hit in cross traffic, and even as they've chanted vile things at our officers have made sure they're safe for 12 weeks. As far as I'm concerned, if people are marching and protesting, they're entitled to say whatever they want. What happened Saturday night was very different. This wasn't a march or a protest. They made it clear in public postings that they intended to take over a section of Woodward, that they weren't going to leave. They started putting out Instagram messages for people to come join them. They were attempting to create the kind of zone they had in Seattle, where you had the lawless zone with shootings and sexual assaults and the like. And when the police asked them to move, they chose very intentionally to get arrested. It was a decision they made, and so I'll let Deputy Chief Bedison talk about the review, because every single instance is going to be reviewed, but I support Chief Craig's position. You want to march through this city? We will support you. We'll protect you from traffic no matter what you want to say. It's freedom of speech. But if you think that you can take over a block of this city, that's not going to be allowed here, and they made a decision to try to do that. The chief I think made the right decision. And Deputy Chief Bedison can talk about the review that they're going on now as far as how things were handled.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Chief Bedison. With all allegations of uses of force, excessive uses of force of any allegation, we ensure that there is a thorough review. So we have received some complaints from citizens that were detained, and each complaint is being looked into and will be thoroughly investigated by our professional accountability unit, which is headed up by Director Chris Graveline, which is a former U.S. attorney. So we take all complaints of allegations of force very, very seriously, and we will evaluate each one of them. And one of the things that you should be comforted to know that even before any force was used, the commander in charge that night, he constantly reminded our officers to ensure that your body cameras are on. So that's one of the things that we're proud of with the Detroit Police Department. All of our members on our department, they're equipped with body-worn cameras, and by the support of Mr. Mayor, he ensured that we had the resources that invested in those body-worn cameras. Not all major departments have body-worn cameras, so it will be a thorough review of the body-worn cameras, and to utilize force oftentimes is necessary, but what the evaluation will determine whether or not it's excessive. And force never looks pretty, and that is the last resort that we want to employ. So thank you very much, and it'll be future updates as to what the outcomes of those investigations reveal. But right now it's ongoing.
So some of you may remember the third or fourth day of the protest. Deputy Chief Bedison was the police official who took the knee with the protesters in solidarity over the racial injustice in our criminal justice system. In the moment after he took that knee, the officers were greeted with bottles thrown at them. And so you have a man who just spoke here who believes deeply in principles of Black Lives Matter. But, you know, this protest has turned into Medicare for all, stop evictions, cancel my student loan. This no longer has anything to do with where this started. And you got a lot of protesters coming in from out of town for a lot of reasons. They're entitled to express those views. They are not allowed to take over a section of the city and stay there. That's just our feeling about it. All right, who's next?
Marvin, you are next.
Marvin, you're up.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my call. I live in the Marina District. I live right across the street from Riverside Marina.
Mm-hmm.
And my question concerns Marina. When I moved in, we realized it was a marina. There was going to be some noise and all those things, but they're actually parking mobile homes and trailers there now as well. And when I talked to the managers over there, they said it's a storage yard. But I have people living there and constant noise from generators and everything else. So I was wondering, did something change in the city for that area?
Okay, Dave Bell's going to tell you the answer to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we are going to investigate this matter. This is something that is new, your allegation that there are people living in mobile homes on that site. So we are going to get your information. We are going to investigate it first thing tomorrow. Thank you.
So I take it from that answer, nothing changed, we just didn't know about it. So this is why I love doing these. I learned something new, but I had never heard that one before, but we'll be out tomorrow to check it out. All right, who's next?
Okay, Victoria, you are next.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Burnett. I live near Dexter and John C. Lodge. And I was just curious if a block club purchases the speed bumps and the street has been approved but is not allocated this year, is it possible for them to get them placed?
That really is a touchy subject. Ron took some speed humps out of another neighborhood the other day. So I would rather work with you. We've had some speed humps purchased that didn't meet the city standards. We just can't have people putting their own devices down on roads. I'd rather have a conversation with you and see if we can't get official city speed humps in, if it is so bad in your area. But what street are you're not trying to put them on Dexter?
No,
But
no,
what-
and I actually were referring to this particular neighborhood. I'm concerned about over by Grandmont, by Garden View Estates,
Uh-huh,
where the seniors live.
yeah.
That's where I was.
They're really zipping through there?
Mother.
Okay. And you're saying the folks at Garden View want to pay for their own speed humps?
I want to say that we were thinking of trying to collect money on the senior side so that we could get the official ones, not just some that we decided that, oh, those would work. I realize that they have to meet certain standards.
You know what? It seems like we should be able to protect the seniors over there. Let's see. Malia, why don't you talk tomorrow, and let's see if we can't move you up the list. We need to have some objective basis, but I got to believe people speeding near senior centers is going to make the top of any list. So let's see if we can do that before you feel like you have to pay for it yourself.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, next question.
Next is JW. You are next. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, JW, where do you live?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, yes, I live in the North End, and so I had a question about Proposal N, but also had a question about community engagement, because you said last time when you ran, you said, let's build Detroit's future together.
Right.
But I wonder what that means, because you just mentioned there were meetings in the North End. I didn't know about that, and I've been asking for inclusion for a long time. So how is Let's Build Detroit's Future Together supposed to be manifesting itself in terms of government? And then the other question is, well, I'm going to throw a quick one in. What's the status of the water after the Revere cookware collapse? And then back to Proposal N, is there a specific plan? Do you know which houses you're going to demolish and which neighborhoods? Because you say that it's not raising my taxes. It's sort of like, oh, I'm going to take out a home equity loan and I just sort of, I'm going to go do an addition, but I'm not going to do an addition. I mean, I don't even know where it is you're planning on spending the money. So is that going to be available for the public to know what proposition and what you plan on spending it on, a specific plan?
So the answer is, let me start with the engagement question. Before COVID hit, I was spending an evening a week in living rooms in neighborhoods across this city, folks who invited me in, normally the most activist group. I was in a couple of homes in the North End where 12, 15 neighbors came, and as soon as COVID's listed, if you invite me, I'll come sit in your neighborhood. I love doing it. I do it in the areas where people are the most upset. I do it in the areas where people are happiest, and I always learn a lot. It's been unfortunate for the last 5 or 6 months I have not been able to do that, but you have a district manager, Malia Howard, and a deputy district manager to continue engagement. It'll be primarily through Zoom calls now until we can get back in. As far as how the money will be spent, we're going to lay out the principles. I need City Council to endorse them when they get back from break in September, but the principles I'm going to propose is this, that the first priority is to get in and secure every house that can be saved, and we can tell you what those addresses are. Secure them by cleaning them out, putting in the secure view, fixing the roofs. The priority in demolition is going to be this: if it's within 200 feet of a park or a school, or if it's next door to an occupied house. Those are going to be our first priorities on demolition, and then we will move out from there. But we've got probably 6,000 houses in this city that need to be knocked down that are immediately next to an occupied family, and it's about time we protected the people who hung in there. So that's going to be the first wave of what's coming, and you can judge for yourself whether that will put your neighborhood high or lower.
So you don't have, it sounds like there isn't a specific plan yet. Because I read the language of Proposition N and it's very vague. So, a lot of neighborhoods that have been waiting for development, how are they going to know that this is really going to include them? Because I'm not, with the problems with the audits and the way the other federal money was spent, I don't feel comfortable voting to indebt ourselves for the next 20, 30 years.
So that's the great thing about a democracy, is it's your money, and the people of the city are going to make a decision. But the federal money has been spent. It had an enormous impact on the city. A lot of it in the North End, where we got rid of a whole lot of burned out houses. We've got other neighborhoods that we hadn't gotten to yet that have been waiting for quite a while. And so we're going to make a decision. There's nobody coming to help us. There's nobody else there. If you feel like the neighborhoods that we have are good enough and we can continue to raise our children in these conditions, you can vote no. We are where we are. If you believe this isn't acceptable, that we got to do better, that you want those vacant houses secured and renovated, then you can vote yes. And the plan is exactly what I'm saying, that we are going to lay out principles. City Council is going to have to approve every single choice of a house in all the contracts over the next 5 years. What we're going to say to you is, these are the principles. If the house can be saved, we're going to secure it. That's our first priority. If the house can't be saved, we are going to knock down the houses first that are immediately next to occupied houses, and we're going to knock down the houses within 200 feet of a school and a park. If you think that is a good enough plan to vote yes, you should vote yes. If you don't think it's a good enough plan, you should vote no. It's your money, it's your decision, and my responsibility is to carry out your wishes, and I'll do that whichever way the election comes out. Who's next?
Next is Electra.
Electra, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor Duggan. I would like to ask what is going on with the street paving. About 4 to 5 weeks ago, they started paving in the North End, and we were ecstatic. We had clay curbs that had been worn down and hadn't been replaced since the 40s. They came in, they did the top coat, and then they picked and chose down each street which curbs would be replaced. It now looks worse than it did before. Right. There doesn't seem to be any quality control. We have no idea if they are finished, and we're to continue repairing our lawns, and we have not seen the supervision. We were told that there wasn't enough money to do all the curbs. I'm of the opinion, if there wasn't enough money, you should have done less streets, because the way the street, particularly Trowbridge between Woodward and John R. looks now is unbelievable. It looks worse. There is no quality control in this effort, and I'd like to know what is the plan to correct this. And I think that as you move forward paving streets throughout the city, you should take more concern on what the end product is.
Time.
Well, thank you. I'm having a great night tonight, so I just want to thank you for that call. Again, I'm Ron Brundage, Director of DPW. My department is responsible for residential road paving. Our normal process when we resurface a street, whether it's a local street or a major street, if there's any curb that's damaged along the segment that we're resurfacing, we'll replace that damaged curb, and we try to do it so that the height matches up with the curb that we don't replace, that remains. It's not our standard practice to go through and do 100% of curb replacement when we resurface the street, because of course that cost would just take away from the potential for the number of roads that we could repave citywide. But we are committed, if there's damaged curb again throughout that segment, that we do want to make sure that we address any damaged curb when we resurface the street. But I guess I just want to have an understanding, and if you don't mind, I'd love to reach out to you directly tomorrow so I can set up a time when I can come out to Trowbridge and take a look so I can fully understand what your specific concern is. Obviously, we do have inspectors out there managing the work that's being done, and we do have standards and requirements in terms of, what we do and what we don't, and what we won't do as it relates to curb replacement. But generally, our expectation is that when the project is completed, in addition to the road being repaved, any damaged curb that's along that segment is replaced. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that we will do 100% curb replacement. But if you're agreeable to it, I'd love to reach out to you tomorrow and set up a time when I can come out to Trowbridge and meet with you directly so I can fully understand what your concerns are. Thank you.
Okay, we got the contact information? All right, that's an unusual one. Normally, the feedback I get on the road paving is very positive, so I know Ryan will go out and check that and make sure that all the damaged curbs were properly replaced. All right, I know we're past time, but let's go till 8:45, and let's take a few more. So who's next?
Dorothea is next.
Dorothea, where do you live?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm in Indian Village. And a follow-up question on the vacant lot cuttings. The city is spending $3 million a year in cutting vacant lots. Are they able to make any effort to bill the property owners for that lot cutting?
Yeah, in large tracts we do. Our practical problem is this. The city owns 92,000 parcels of land. I don't know what we cut, something like 120,000 or 125,000. And so to stop and figure out how to bill each lot, on the small lots, it would cost us more to bill than to cut. But on the larger lots, we are trying very hard to make it hurt financially for you to neglect your property. All right, who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 360.
360, if that's your last three digits, you're up.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Dwayne, and I live in the McDougal Hunt neighborhood area,
Okay.
District 5. I have a couple concerns. The first one is about the bulk pickup in the McDougal Hunt area.
Okay.
They pick up certain bulk, trash bulk, but this one particular one that they haven't picked up in 3 months is accumulating. People ride down the street, and I'm 3 blocks away from the Heidelberg project. They ride down the street and they think that it's a pile of trash, so they just dump their stuff there. I can go to sleep at night and wake up and there's more trash added to what's already there. I would like to know if that can
If you will give us the address offline, Ron, will you get that tomorrow? Well, we will come out and pick it up tomorrow. So just give us the address to your person that you're talking to, and we will come get it tomorrow.
Okay, the next question I have as far as the alley. We utilize the alley to access our garages and driveways.
Right.
We have a sinkhole that's been there for years. Can someone come out and take a look at this particular alley? And I was trying to find out, have they vacated the alleys in the McDougal Hunt neighborhood?
All right, Gary Brown's going to answer that question. This is the longest he's ever gone without a question, so I know he's glad to answer.
I told my staff.
The last question
Hold on, let me
I have is about, there's a home that's owned by the land bank right next door to my property. I've been trying to maintain this property and clean up the trash and everything, and the house has been boarded up. But they constantly keep taking the boards down over the doors, and they go in there, they squat, they do drugs, prostitution, and everything. Instead of
Yeah, if we can get that address offline, we have the police department and the land bank here. They'll certainly come out and take care of those issues. I told my staff earlier today that if I didn't get any calls, I'd buy them all lunch. But if I got one call, they would have to buy me lunch. I don't know if going into overtime or not is going to count with them. But again, you're probably right. So I know we have the address. I'm looking at the folks over to my left, and you have your address. We'll get out tomorrow, check out the sinkhole in the alley, see if the service line has collapsed and we need to repair the line as well as repair the street. We'll get it taken care of within 48 hours. I promise you that.
And Todd Bettison, who's already had plenty of screen time, is the man in charge of removing squatters from boarded-up buildings. And if you leave us that address, I know that Deputy Chief Bettison will be glad to have something to do besides protesters tomorrow. So I know he'll get right on it. Next question.
Diane, you're next.
Yes, I'm Diane, and I live on Chicago Boulevard in District 5. I wanted you to know how much I appreciate our district manager, Malia Howard, who works hard to address the issues in the historic Boston Edison district. We have one of our large homes on Boston Boulevard that continues to be used as an event house, attracting large numbers of guests almost every weekend. Melina worked hard this weekend to ensure that the caretaker of the house met city-state ordinances. On Sunday, we had hundreds of people who did not do social distancing nor wear a mask. They were so disruptive throughout our neighborhood. Melina, with the help of the Detroit command, our precinct commander and the police department, shut it down.
Yeah, Malia has been on a personal mission.
Kinds of events cease to happen, but Malia has done a fabulous job. But again, more needs to happen because we cannot allow people to buy these big homes and think they can turn them into party houses.
Time.
So Malia has been on a personal mission. She has talked to the homeowner himself. She didn't feel like he was being honest, and she brought her friends from the police department. And ultimately, we may need Lawrence Garcia in the law department. In fact, Lawrence, you probably ought to look at just going in and getting an injunction. This guy is intentionally ignoring the ordinances and holding these parties after promising that he won't. And I think now is the time to escalate. Let's just go ahead and file a lawsuit. But Malia has been briefing me weekly on her battle on this house, and I'm glad to hear that she had some success on Sunday. All right, who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 607.
Okay, if your number ends in 607, you're up.
Please unmute yourself. Phone number ending in 607. Okay, we'll try again. We'll move next to KT. You're next.
KT, tell us where you live.
Hello.
Hello, you sound like you're having a good night.
I am, and actually, I'm not going to speak to you. I have some children here that are very excited to speak to you. So
Okay.
Here they are.
Hi, my name is Nyla. I am 7.
Hi, my name is Zoe, and I am 8.
Hi, my name is Oscar, and I am 6. And we want to have the sidewalks on Fisher very not cracky for everybody to ride on their bikes and everything.
I think this may be the most effective lobbying I've ever gotten. So, Fisher between what and what?
We're part of the Junior Block Club.
Really? Who's the president of the Junior Block Club?
Is it Zoe or Nyla? Or Oscar? I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Oh, Nyla's claiming it.
All right, Nyla's the president. We got a future politician. Okay, it sounds like Bob's already a politician. So it's Fisher between what and what?
Gratiot to Mac.
Okay.
These kids are in the Junior Block Club, and they can't ride their bikes
All
on
right,
the
Ron,
sidewalks.
see what you can do. I know it's been a long night for you, but would you get out there? And these are the same folks that wanted the speed humps earlier, but let's see if we can do something about their sidewalk. All right, so Nyla and Oscar, was it Zoe?
Thank you.
Okay.
Zoe.
All right, so there's a really nice man named Mr. Brundage going to come out and visit you. And I know it's not Christmas yet, but we'll see if he can do something about the sidewalks, all right? All right.
Okay, phone number is ending in 607 is ready.
Okay, the person ending in 607 has figured it out. Maybe.
Phone number ending in 607, you are unmuted. Please proceed.
Hello?
All right, how are you?
All right, and you?
Good, you don't have any kids there, do you?
No. They're at home with their parents.
All right.
Okay. I live in Island View. My name is Toya, and the last name is Watts. And all this development is going on around us. They're asking for tax abatement. The status I want to find out, I have two questions though. It's about home repair, the grant, or how do we get help now, next year or whenever? Because I know people need roofs on their home. And don't go there, Mayor, with that 0 interest loan with me. Not right now. Don't do it.
So there's about a
I would like to know if we can do a different type of entities of this money where people can do minor. That's major to me. Minor, if they needed a front porch or gutters on their home. And number two, the 7th precinct is a joke. Where they located at, people don't know. When we going to get a new building? It is an insult. As long as I've been dealing with my police officers. I love my police officers. Don't get it twisted.
Okay, so we've built a new 5th precinct, a new 3rd precinct, a new, what's the one all the way out in Grand River? Is that 6 or 8? 8th precinct. Am I missing one, or are those the 3? We know, Chief Craig tells me about the 7th all the time. And so we're making decisions on priorities in the police department right now. And as far as the grant program, if you go to the city website, which website is it, Arthur? Okay, Arthur Jefferson will tell you what the process is on the minor home repairs. We probably get 100 applications for each one that's approved, but he can tell you what the process is.
Good evening, Ms. Watts. Good to hear from you. As you know, if you, when you go to the HRD website, they've got all the contact information. They also have sort of days where they go out to different neighborhoods and begin the process where you can sign up. We've got home repairs. We usually do about 400 to 500 a year, and we've got home repair loans. 400 to 500 get funded every year. They usually take a little bit longer than 1 year to be completed. As you mentioned, we also have the home repair loan program, which has served over 600 Detroiters already. We've got, and I think as we get new resources coming into the city, like the recent grant that we received from HUD to focus on lead removal and lead improvement, that plus other general funds and other sources we've been putting in for about $15,000 rehabs. We've got more resources than we've had, frankly, since we started in 2013 being allocated to home repair. So unlike maybe what you're hearing, the amount of money that goes to home repairs, frankly, probably doubled, almost 3 times what it was when we first started. So I know that there's more demand than our resources, but we've been doing everything we can to make sure that we're getting more repairs done with the resources that we have.
All right, we should be getting down to the end here. Let's take 2 more.
Okay, phone number ending in 687. You're next.
Okay, if your number ends in 687. Okay, who's next?
Okay, Cornelius, you're next.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello. Yes. One thing I failed to ask before. On the snow removal for the vacant properties, Mr. Mayor, what program is that?
There's no snow removal program for vacant properties that I know of. No, it's...
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, they're all shaking their heads. So no, it was a major accomplishment to get the snow off the streets, which we're now doing reasonably well.
Okay, Cornelius, you're next.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm actually out of Submerge, which is over on East Grand Boulevard, and you were actually over at our building a while back, and we had talked about the whole idea of drag racing and that.
Right.
And we know that now this is a big issue around the city. A lot of these complaints that people have seem to be related to people going too fast up and down these streets. I'm wondering, we had our event a couple years back. It was hugely successful. Tons of people came out. Are there any efforts being done to establish a place for people to do this, given that this is the Motor City and this is what this place is known for? You know, is there a way to actually create a safe space for these things to happen? I mean, we've had different proposals for it, but I'm trying to find out, is there any intention on the part of the city to get behind something like that, to try to, you know, because a lot of these people, they're doing really innovative work in terms of even, you know, automotive design and the engineering behind it and all this stuff, but they need a place to be able to express this outside of going the however many miles out to Milan to do this. And so I'm just trying to find out, you know, is there anything the city can do to get behind that?
So Chief Craig has been very passionate about trying to do this. The issue is, I think the successful event you're talking about was when we shut down City Airport for the day and ran on the runways, which the FAA is not going to let us do again. But the places that we have that are large enough are parks. I mean, that really are the one places where you have enough room to do something. And we're looking at it, but, you know, my question is going to be, what are the neighbors going to say if we, you know, dedicate a park for Saturdays or Friday nights for these kinds of things? So if you have a suggestion on a location, I'm open to it, because I'd very much like to provide an opportunity. But they can go out to Milan, because Milan has all kinds of open space. The city of Detroit doesn't have that, but I'm open to suggestions. Did we lose him?
Nope, he's here.
Do you have a suggestion on a location? Where would you put it?
You know what I was going to say is that, I mean, I would like to at least engage in some conversations around it, because there are a few parks where I think that there's enough open space where something like this can be done and it not be an issue for the neighbors. I think that this is very, very possible. And I think that we just have to really, you know, put some effort towards looking at design. I mean, ultimately, and I'm also with Design Corps, and that's all of what this is about, design. We can design this. We're a UNESCO City of Design. I'm sure that the city of Detroit can come up with something that would work.
So Todd, are you engaged in this, or is this all Chief Craig? Okay, so I'm going to have Todd Bettison call you tomorrow about this, and I want to be in this conversation too. I've really started to look at different sites around the city to do this. It is something I want to solve, and when you get hundreds of people gathered at Grand River and Oakman at 3 in the morning, okay, we can't have that, but it also says there's a real demand for some place to do it. And so if we can figure out a way to do it, but we're going to have to be honest with people. The only land in the city big enough to do it on is some of our big parks. And those parks are going to have constituencies that are going to have feelings about that. But I'd love to sit down and have a conversation and see if we can find a solution. All right, Todd, do you know, have we got the contact information?
Yes.
So you're here from Deputy Chief Bettison tomorrow, and let's start that conversation.
North End resident, you're ready to go.
Okay, North End resident, and you'll be the last caller of the night. Go ahead.
Well, hello, good evening. My name is Rashawn Foster. I'm also known in the neighborhood as Sun.
Okay,
I've
sound
got
like that.
3 quick questions. One is a call out actually to those in District 5 and across the city. Residents who feel like they are not listened to, or that the city is not giving them enough information, I behoove us to go to the City of Detroit websites and comb through every single page, every single document, every single update, every single survey. A lot of the questions that we have are on the website. And I'm glad that this happens, right? That leads into a question about civic literacy and education. What does the city of Detroit plan to do for residents who are needing to understand how the city actually works? What is city planning? What is the city planning department? What does each person do? And I ask that because there are a lot of people who do not understand the roles and responsibilities. So when we residents are asked, what do you want?
And do we lose you? So I couldn't agree with you more. There was a time when the cable channel in this city was widely watched and was a source of information. That has fallen off significantly. There was a time we could send mailers to your house and people actually read the mail that came, and we do that. But that has fallen off. A lot of people track on social media, but many of our elderly residents would never get a notice if it came on social media. And so we've hired a fellow by the name of Eric Thomas, and it is his job to solve this problem. And he has got an entire team across all the departments to say, how do we reach people where they are? And that may mean billboards, mail, as you point out, the city website, DetroitMI.gov, is phenomenal. The material is there if you get there. It could be text messages that update you. Right now, a lot of folks get a text message when their bulk permit day is coming up. That can be a piece of it. What Conrad Mallett is doing on the community health corps, going out and knocking on doors and visiting people in person, is a piece of it. And so Eric Thomas is pulling together all of these methods of communications into a single strategy, because what we've learned is we've got lots of segments of this community that get their information in lots of different ways. And we think we're repeating it over and over, and yet I do one of these kinds of events and you see how many folks don't know what do I do about the sinkhole in the alley behind my house. And so we have to do a better job. And so watch for Eric Thomas. He's going to solve that. And with that, I think we've run about a half hour past, but they were just great questions tonight. I think I probably still left you time to catch Donald Trump. Or something else maybe on. But thank you very much tonight. Thursday night, we have District 1. So if you didn't get your question answered tonight, you can try again on Thursday night, and after we take the District 1 questions, we'll take any others from this group. Thank you, and have a good night.